thought we'd start here today for a quick check-in on what looks pretty in the rose garden today. So you're gonna see that I've been dealing with my black spot, and we tried a new fertilizer to see if we can help with that. And then of course we've got the Japanese beetles that we're dealing with, but some things really are looking still so pretty, and it makes it all worthwhile. So we've got, this is Princess Anne, and she has been defoliated heavily. But let's look at those pretty blooms. Get you out of the sun to let me shade it slightly. Look how pretty. And if we look down the line, look how pretty these colors are melting together. We have a really bright Thomas Becket back here that is getting ready to go nuts. Look at him. Isn't he pretty? And he is a very tall upright. We've got Ascot next to that finished a flush recently. But let's look at the pinks. This is Port Marion here in this section. And this rose is hard to find. I bought her from, I think, Palatine recently, but I don't know why they discontinued this shrub. It is so beautiful and in such a heavy flush, and has been for a while now. Now, this is Wife of Bath. Keep in mind, we've got high heat right now, which changes the way that the blooms look slightly. This looks very white, but then the newer blooms are pink, and look at that pretty yellow stamens in the center there. So it's really nice to offset a color in between your pinks. If you decide to do a whole pink hedge, just throw another color in there. This is Sophie's Rose, looking fantastic. Really happy. This is England's Rose, and she is new this year. That's why she's so small. But look at those sweet little buds. And she opens all the way up. I've got Darcy coming into bloom. This is Prospero, and he's also another difficult rose to find, but you will be able to find him. A lot of the vendors see the interest in David Austin, and they are trying to get some of the older varieties back into production so that people can add those to their gardens. So just keep on reaching out to your favorite vendors and asking them if they have any thoughts about adding these roses so that they know that you're interested. So let's walk down now and look at the other side. If we look down here, I've got my Benjamin Britten that loves this temperature. He's very happy in 7B, and I love how he changes colors based on the age of the bloom. Benjamin is one of my most dependable, so you can see that I used him several times in the bed here. Okay, let's look over at this side. Look at this beautiful rose. Oh my goodness, you guys. This is an underrated rose. I know it's still available from David Austin. This is the Dark Lady, and can you see how we've got purpley blooms? The camera might not pick it up. And then this beautiful fuchsia through the rest of the flower. And if you look at her in my hand, this is a good 4-inch bloom. Very happy, and I've got a couple other blooms getting ready to come out here. This is the Fisherman's Friend. We've shown you some pictures of him. Let's ignore my hose here, but let's look down the line. I've got some things in bloom. Let's see, this is Royal Jubilee, and Royal Jubilee is fairly new, so still trying to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up. This is Jacques Cartier. This bright girl here is Delish. So I do have roses that I put into my beds that are great performers that are not David Austin, just because I love all roses. This is Huntington Rose. And I want you to remember this color of Delish, and I want to show you now Fiji. Fiji is looking very similar in color. So it's nice to have these two girls in the same bed together so that they kind of offset each other. And if we look down here, this is Eve's Piaget getting ready to come into a nice little bloom. He's very ruffled, so I can't wait to see him. This is Tess, and Tess is looking very fuchsia. I know that the camera is not picking this up. It looks more red, reddy orange on the camera, but in person, I'm seeing violet pink. Really pretty. This is Gabriel Oak getting ready to bloom. We'll check in on him later. And this is Tam O'Shanter. He's looking like an aged bloom and open up right now, but you guys, it has been blooming for such a long period. You really should consider Tam. Everything else in the bed right now is kind of sleepy. Look over here at Lichfield Angel. She is so pretty. Oh my goodness. This color here has the very lightest hue of, I would say, an apricot yellow. So those that are thinking about getting into yellows, this is a great way to approach that. Just the lightest of apricot in here. So pretty. Let's look at this one. I'm not seeing any thrips, any browning. This is one that is aged a little bit, and I do see some browning on the outer edges. But if you're looking for thrips, you can look in to this outer leaf, and I do not see any thrips. So this is just heat damage or water damage. This is Pretty Jessica, looking very pretty. So this is an aged bloom, and you see how we've got the dots here. One might say you've got thrips. So let's look in the outer petals, and I do not see any thrips or dots that move on the rose. Oopsie. Well, that's just an aged bloom. So I'm not seeing any thrips. This is just the way that she looks when she's subjected to heat and water. Scepter Isle. Look at this pretty, pretty rose. The lightest of pink that opens up. Look at that, so sweet. So I have a lot of blooms that are going to be coming in the next couple of days, so we'll make sure that we check in on her. Everybody else is taking a little pause right now. Bishop's Castle is getting ready to give us some blooms again in a couple of days. So if we look here, all of my knockouts are coming into another flush, and I think that they just look so nice. And in the future, I might consider swapping them out for something else, but in the near term, it gives me a quick impact, and they look great. Down here, we've got an iceberg rose, and it has been a dependable bloomer, but you know, it's just got simple little flowers on it. Okay, in our side bed over here, I've got a couple of whites to share with you. This is how Rosemary is looking today, and she's just a nice simple bloom with a pretty stamen center. And then down here, this is Tranquility, looking very pretty, but you'll see that her blooms right now for me, because of the heat, are a little over 2 inches. This is another white that is not impacted its size because of the heat that we have here, and this is Sugar Moon, and she is, gosh, a good 4.5 inches right now. Really pretty white. My Olivia Standard, making a dew in this heat. She has been very dependable. Here's another Standard. So down here in this bed, I've got some apricots to share with you. This is Double Easy Orange, and I was nervous initially about getting her from Jackson & Perkins because I didn't see very many reviews, but I have been so happy with her color and her health. She is a very deep apricot fading to a white on the edges. Very, very pretty. This is Easy Does It, and Easy Does It for me over the past couple of weeks has had a, it changes colors. But this is a pink, and if you look at the center, it has yellow in the center and ruffly petals. So she is very fun to look at. I've got Ocean, one of my bands, getting ready to bloom again. And this is Distant Drums. This is what you typically see with distant drums. It's got the dusty pink and apricot color, but she's been opening in this heat to a very light lavender. And then you'll see I've got spots on her that are not thrips. This is heat damage because I'm looking inside and there are no pests. This is Caribbean Breeze, and she looks a lot like Easy Does It, with that yellow center and apricot pink outer, ruffled edges. Let's look at them together a second. So this is Caribbean Breeze, and let's go look at Easy Does It. And Easy Does It. So they have a similar look to them. These are my Pat Austins getting ready to come in bloom. They are doing really good, and this is a partial shade location, and they are happy. This is called Elizabeth Stewart, and she is, depending on the time of the day, more apricot than this, but it's a very light yellow right now with an apricot in her petals, if you can see that. This is Desdemona, smaller blooms than normal in this heat. Jude, Lady of Shalott. So if you can see here, I've got a lot of blooms in here and a lot of canes. As we've talked about with her, she ends up looking kind of like an octopus. So I've had to stake her in a couple of places to keep her in check. But here is how she looks. And then some of her blooms in the heat are yellowing a little bit, but she is so pretty. And then look at these buds that start out pink rose color, and then you've got the apricot bloom. So I think that this is a great dependable rose for any newbie gardener that just wants a lot of satisfaction and not a whole lot of work. I've got a Benjamin in here. This is Soul Sister. So if you look at the shape of the rose, kind of bare there in the center, but look at this cluster of flowers. She's been performing so well for me. I did put a little bit of a support on her because it was so heavy, but I love watching these blooms age down to that light color. Let's get in close here. So that is Soul Sister. And this is my William Morris. If you remember, we did a video on him to help give him a little bit of support, and he is looking stronger already. But look at this little tiny sweet bloom. He's doing well. And so much fun. I'm gonna come back and get him when the video is over. But this is Windermere, and it is a very light color in the same family for me as Vanessa Bell. A lot of blooms getting ready to pop on this baby. Lark Ascending is in the same color family as Lady of Shalott, but it has a more open bloom on her. I've got a lot of blooms in here. You see, I've got a lot of new growth that I'm not ready to cut back. I want to kind of let her do her thing for a little bit. Another Benjamin. This is Princess Charlene de Monaco, and in my experience right now, the beetles are very drawn to her. I don't know if that means that she is more sweet, but that's just something I'm not sure if you have found that also. This is my Winchester Cathedral, and Winchester, I love these pink little blooms that start out and you think, oh, what kind of pink am I getting? And you end up with this beautiful white cut rose, and it has been very prolific. If you look at all of the blooms that are going to be coming up here this week, this has been a very dependable rose for me. I've got a carding mill in here that is a lone survivor of a beetle attack. My Benjamin Britton, I'll step back, is huge. I mean, I've kind of let him go, and he is 7 foot or so, very big. And I've got these cute little Benjamins. My Abraham Darby has really struggled with black spot, and so I have been defoliating him. But look at that pretty bloom. Let me pull him into the shade. Such a pretty apricot color. This bloom is nodding a little bit. This is my Vanessa Bell here, and this is a very, very light yellow. It's not really in your face like some of the yellows are very striking. But this is just a gentle yellow, and it will fade to a white, and it has been a dependable performer for me. A brighter yellow that I have is the Pilgrim, and I got this rose from Wayside, and so it has struggled ever since I got it. So every once in a while I see one bloom, I'm going to move it in the fall and see if I can give it a better start. This is my Olivia, who has been so dependable. My first bloomer of the season, very black spot resistant, just a joy. I highly recommend Olivia. And right now her blooms are a little bit lighter in the heat, but love, love, love her. If we look down here, we see lots of color down the bed, and that's my daylilies coming in to support the lag in my roses. And I've got my hydrangeas coming into bloom. I've got some Russian sage here, that's denim and lace. This is Poseidon, a very small little Poseidon bloom. And then back here I've got a burgundy iceberg. Let's look down here. I've marked with pink flags the roses that we're going to be watching closely for my new fertilizer that we're testing out. Okay, this is Bolero, and Bolero is still looking fabulous, just a little bit smaller blooms, and I'm not seeing any thrift damage. Of course, knockouts, laughing at the heat and humidity. Agapanthus. My Alnwick. So the Alnwick has been really struggling with black spots, so I defoliated her, and these are aged blooms, but she has not been a prolific bloomer for me this season. Daylilies, hydrangeas. I've got phlox in here giving us that bright fuchsia color. I've got agastache here, or hummingbird mint. Let's see, who else is looking beautiful? I have cut back my Mary Hard because she was so black spot ridden, and since then I've been getting more blooms, so she's happy that I did that. And then this is another Olivia, looking pretty here. I highly recommend Olivia. She is just so dependable. Here on the water, I have one of my hydrangea trees blooming. The daylilies have stopped their bloom. I've just got a few here or there, but the happy returns are finished. I've clipped back my my nepeta and my salvia, so it is taking a little bit of a break right now from blooming. I've got Vitex down by the water that's looking great. I'm not sure if you can take in the color that we have from down here. It's apricots and purples and whites right now. This is a bloom from State of Grace. Look up here. got Polar Express, English Garden. I'll put in the shade so you can see it, very light. And so the problem that I've had with these roses here on the side is just that they kind of scorch in the sun. We get such strong sun over here. This is Hyde Hall. And when you look at Hyde Hall, she has beautiful pink coloring around the edges and a apricot center. New blooms are going to be a pink. You know that Eglantyne is a pink rose. Look at her here in the heat. She is completely white. This is Claire Austin, and she would like to bloom in clusters. Clusters means everybody's bunched up like this. So that is something new that I learned. Maybe I didn't look at the description very well, but Claire is blooming in clusters for me. Who is this? This is Summer Memories. Another Claire here. I love the color of Foxy Lady. She goes from a very deep rose rust color to this beautiful frilly rust pink with, I would call her more of a coral, a very muted coral. And so you can see that she is struggling with the heat, but I'm not seeing any thrips in here. So it's just heat. This is Cinco de Mayo. And that is more of a very rust color that fades to the same color family as Foxy Lady. And back here we've got Marmalade Skies, also in the same family as these three. So they look really nice together. Also is Summer Sun. And Summer Sun looks great with them also because she has stayed true to this coral color, and then she fades to a very light white, or very light pinky coral color. This is Acropolis, and you guys, I love her in the pictures. I'm not sure how I feel about her. Really, she's been small the whole time, so this is 1.5 inches width. So I'll have to look at the description and see if that is the size that she is intended to be. But for me, she's a very upright grower, and the problem that I have is that every morning when there is dew, she keeps that water in her petals, and I come out here and I'm constantly thinking that that it needs to be shaken and that it's, you know, affecting the blooms, having all of that water sitting there. So I'm not sure. You know, let me know what your experience is with Acropolis and your thoughts on her. This is my Augusta Louise, and he has been very dependable. Look at this, what the heat does to this rose. I'm looking inside and I'm not seeing any thrips. So this is entirely, his modeling here is because of the temperature, but he has been very fun to look at and very fun next to Crazy Love because they have a similar ruffly petal that has variegated color. And look at the Crazy Love. It has been crazy how well this rose has done for us. Let me get close here for you to look at. Over here, this is my Shepherdess, and the Shepherdess is typically a very light pink, but in the heat right now, it has become more like the colors of Vanessa Bell, a very light yellow, still very beautiful. I mean, I don't know that there's a rose that I don't think is beautiful, but here's Vanessa Bell. So let's look at Vanessa next to the Shepherdess. So similar, it has, you know, the brighter muted yellow that is going to fade to white. Let's see, who else is in bloom? This is Lion's Fairy Tale. down here. Lion's Fairy Tale has been a great bloomer for us also. I think this is an unsung hero. I left this bloom on here so that you could see it. This is Janet, and normally she has a very deep center on her, but she has faded to a cream. But she has been, when I have blooms on her, it stays, her blooms stay for a week and a half or so. And this is, I want to say this is her first year. This is Bliss, and Bliss is getting ready to come into another flush for us. This is Boscobel and Boleyn. My beautiful spirea there. Can you see my Vitex looks so pretty? So this is Phlox down here, and then I've got purple Vitex coming into bloom. Looks so beautiful. Daylilies and these hydrangea hedges will be in full bloom. So I hope that this video was helpful so that you can see how things are looking in the heat, and I will plan on seeing you in the next video.